Welcome to another video, Chapter 7, From a Kingdom to an Empire. Do you see this lion symbol in our note and coins? The lions that we see on our notes and coins have a long history. They were carved in stone and placed on top of a massive stone pillar at Sarnath. Who did it? Ashoka was one of the greatest rulers known to history, and on his instructions, inscriptions were inscribed on pillars as well as on rock surface. So, before going further, let us see why his kingdom was called an empire. The Mauryan Empire was founded by Ashoka's grandfather, Chandragupta Maurya, almost 2300 years ago. So, it is founded by Chandragupta Maurya, then it is succeeded by his son Bindusara and his son Ashoka. So, it's formed a dynasty. Chandragupta was supported by a wise man known as Chanakya, or otherwise is known as Kaudalya. In his book Arthashastra, Chanakya written his ideas. Now study what is dynasty. Dynasty is when members of same family become rulers one after another. The family is often called a dynasty. Here, the Mauryas were a dynasty with three important rulers, that is Chandragupta, his son Bindusara, and his son Ashoka. So we call it as a dynasty. In this map, we see the Mauryan Empire and its some important cities and where the inscriptions were found. The red mark are where the inscription were found, and the black, it is the important cities. Pataliputra, it is the capital of Mauryan Empire, and there is another important city, Ujjain. There is another city called Ujjain, which is more like a province in the Mauryan Empire, and there is Taxila. It is also another important city in the Mauryan Empire. So, the important cities in the Mauryan Empire was Pataliputra, which is its capital, Taxila, and Ujjain. Taxila is known as a gateway to the northwest. We see it where is Taxila located. So, it is like a gateway to the northwest, including the Central Asia. And Ujjain lay on the route from north to south India. So, it lay on the almost middle. Ujjain. There were villages are there and forest in the central India. In central India, there is villages and forest. The forest people, they gathered forest produce and hunted animals for food. They hunted animals for food. And this forest has an important role because it supplies the elephants for the Mauryan Empire. And the people in different parts of the empire spoke different languages. They spoke different languages and they used different kind of food, different clothes as well. So it's not same in everywhere. There are different in case of languages and food and the clothes that we wore. Can you say how empires differ from kingdoms? Emperors need more resources than kings because empires are larger than kingdom. Empires are larger than kingdom and need to be protected by big armies. So they are larger than a kingdom. So they need big armies. So in order to feed these big armies, they need more resources. So how they get more resources? They collect taxes. They need a larger number of officials who collect taxes. So let's study about the ruling the empire. Different parts were ruled differently. It is not same in everywhere in the empire. Different parts of the empire were ruled differently. For example, the capital. The area around Pataliputra, it is the capital of Mauryan Empire, Pataliputra. So the area around Pataliputra was under the direct control of the emperor. And the officials are appointed to collect taxes, to punish people, and as a messengers and spies. These officials collect taxes from farmers, herders, and peoples like craftspersons, like that. And there are officials to punish people who disobeyed the ruler's order. Many of these officials were given salaries. So they paid salaries to the officials. So in order to pay these salaries, they need resources. A large amount of resources they need. The emperor supervised them all with the help of members of royal family and the senior ministers. Next, provinces. Provinces are ruled from a provincial capital such as Taxila or Ujjain. These are the provincial capitals. Royal princes were often sent as governors. So to these provinces, the royal princes were often sent as a governors. So we see the capital Pataliputra, the another provinces Ujjain and Taxila. There are vast area between these centers. See, in these centers, there are vast area between these centers. So the Mauryans tried to control roads and rivers which were important for transport and to collect whatever resources were available as tax and tribute. Mauryan rulers tried to control roads and rivers, and these are important for transport and to collect resources. They tried to collect resources were available as tax and tribute. We see about the Arthashastra. It tells us, that is the Arthashastra written by Chanakya. It tells us that the northwest was important for blanket and South India for its gold and precious stone. The northwest, it is important for blankets, and the South India, it is important for gold and precious stone. The resources are collected as a tribute and taxes. So let's study about what is a tribute. Unlike taxes, which were collected on a regular basis, tribute was collected as and when it was possible from people who gave a variety of things, more or less willingly. It is not a tax. Unlike taxes, taxes are collected on a regular basis, but tribute was collected as and when it was possible from people. So there is a difference between tribute and taxes. Other than these important cities, there were forested regions. People living in these areas were more or less independent. These forest regions, they provide elephants, timber, honey and wax to Mauryan officials. So these forest region, they provide elephants, timber and honey and wax to Mauryan officials. Now let's study about Ashoka, a unique ruler. He was the first ruler who tried and to take his message to the people through inscriptions. So these inscriptions were in Prakrit and written in the Brahmi script. Written in Brahmi script. So let's study about the war in Kalinga. Ashoka's war in Kalinga. Kalinga is the ancient name of coastal Orissa. Ashoka fought a war to conquer Kalinga. And after the war, seeing that the violence that the war make, he decided not to fight any more wars. After he saw the violence and bloodshed. So after the Kalinga war, seeing those violence and bloodshed, he decided not to fight any more wars. So the Ashoka is the only king in the history of the world who gave up conquest after winning a war. He is the only king in the history of the world who gave up conquest after winning a war. So that is Ashoka's Dhamma. So we study about Ashoka Dhamma policy. He believed that winning people over through Dhamma is much better than conquering them through force. Here, the ideology of Buddhism guided Ashoka. It did not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. Ashoka Dhamma policy, it did not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. He was also inspired by teachings of the Buddha. He felt that he had a duty to instruct his people. He seen his own people as his children. Ashoka sees his subject as his own children. So he felt that it is a father's duty to instruct the children. He appointed officials known as Dhamma Mahamata who teaches people about Dhamma. They go place to place and teaches people about Dhamma. The Ashoka's messages inscribed on rocks and pillars. And even that, he instructed his officials to read these messages that he inscribed on rocks and pillars to those who could not read it themselves. So, Ashoka sees his subject as his children and he sees just as a father tries to teach his children. He had a duty to instruct his subject. Ashoka also sent messengers to Syria, Egypt, Greece and his son Mahendra and daughter Sangamitra to Sri Lanka. The other things Ashoka did was build roads, dug wells, built rest houses and arranged medical treatment for both human beings and animals. So he take care of the welfare of both humans and animals. Here we see about Ashoka's inscription describing the Kalinga war. After the Kalinga war, he becomes sorrow. That is, about 1.5 lakh people were captured and more than 1 lakh of people were killed. So this filled me with sorrow. So he believed that winning people over to Dhamma is much better than conquering them through force. And he inscribing these messages for the future so that my son and grandson after me should not think about war. It is an Ashoka's message to his subject. Here we see that an important one, that is, it is both wrong to praise one's own religion or criticize another's. This sentence is asked in UPSC Prelims question. So it is both wrong to praise one's own religion or criticize another's. Each one should respect the other's religion. If one praises one's own religion while criticizing another's, one is actually doing greater harm to one's own religion. Therefore, one should try to understand the main ideas of another's religion and respect it. So this is Ashoka's message to his subject. Below we can see the Brahmi script. This is the early Brahmi script, and others are Hindi, Bengali and Malayalam and Tamil. So in this chapter the key words are empire, capital, provinces, Dhamma, messenger and officials. And some important dates are the beginning of Mauryan Empire is more than 2300 years ago. So that's the end of this chapter. If you find it useful for you, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends.